Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show special. I'm your host Stephen Downs and I'm the Huddersfield Town representative for the show. And there has been some recent Huddersfield Town news regarding Michael Duff's appointment to the club. Yesterday we heard from him for the first time in his first press conference, which went down really well. In this video, we're just going to sort of analyse some of the stuff that he said in the press conference and go through it. Obviously, regarding the channel, please subscribe to us, give a like to this video, share, and comment down below. And what do you think of Michael Duff's appointment to the club, and how do you think he'll get on? What did you make to his press conference, and what did you think he had to say? He was sat alongside Mark Cartwright, who also said some very interesting things regarding both Duff's appointment and obviously what has happened over the last year with Town getting relegated to Sky Bet League One. So Duff was first asked, how excited he was to come to the club, and what his thoughts were regarding things that had happened previously last season, but also where he wants to take the club and what the ambitions were going forward. So this is what he had to say on that.
I've taken on an exciting project. I know that. I've come in fully aware of what happened last season, and but it's an opportunity to reset. I think that's the excitement of the opportunity. Having spoken to Kevin, Jake, and Mark about where they want to take the club. A lot of hard work in between, but I've had my first break in football for 30 years, so I feel everyone's ready for the end of the season. I can't wait for it to get going. So it's really excited about the whole opportunity. I think naturally after a relegation, you lose players, but I don't want to make too many snap judgments. I've been in the building less than 72 hours, so the thing, like I said, the main word that I'd work is a reset. There's been a relegation, so something's gone wrong. Whether that's happened in the last 6 months, or whether it's happened over a year-on-year decline, it's not for me to make those judgments just yet. But having the conversation we want to rebuild it. We want to pull everything back together and create a winning environment. But the key being, there's a lot of hard work in between. Even before the pre-season starts. So, the assumption is we want to get promoted next year. Make no mistake about that. But I'm fully aware that there's no given right. I've been in this league before with some big football clubs, and we are one of those big clubs. But just because we've been relegated, it doesn't mean we'll get promoted. You need to implement a lot of things. Everything needs to be right. The recruitment needs to be right. The character of people needs to be right. The staff need to be right. So it's all aligned to create a winning culture. And then winning games of football and promotions are a byproduct of that. So first and foremost, we need to start laying the foundations of building all those little incremental things. Well, there'll be bits of business that get taken out of my hands. But that's the life of football. Every season players come and go. But the key is that when we do come together, we want to give the town a football club they're proud of. We want them. Every player that comes in will need to recognise and understand the importance of the club in the town. They need to understand what you've got to do to wear the football shirt. So there's certain expectations within the football club. There's certain expectations that I expect from my players. I've talked about it before in other press conferences. Sweat on the shirt's a minimum. You need to. I think people in this area, supporters of the football club, they'll accept mistakes as long as you seem to be having a go and trying. And that was me as a player. I wasn't a particularly good player as a footballer, but I think I did okay in my career because my attitude, my mentality, and that's what we want to instill. It's easy when things aren't going right, people point fingers, people blame everybody else, it's everyone else's fault. Well, now's a chance to reset and get everybody aligned, which is the difficult part, to build a culture that hopefully get promoted and then you kick on from there. Well, obviously, it's a team that's been relegated out of the Championship. So there's, like I said, there's lots of knocks on the door, and some players will just assume, well, that's it, I'm off. It's not always that simple. But what we must make sure is the players that do stay and are left over are aware and understand what's expected of them this next year. So the past is the past. People's opinions, all things like that. There's obviously reasons why people come out with those things, but that's got nothing to do with me. It's moving forward. What are the expectations? And how do we achieve what we want to achieve? Because talk's cheap. Say it all the time. You can talk and talk and talk and talk. Yeah, we want to win the league. Well, how do we win the league? That's the key, is how, and that's what we've got to put those little steps in place before the players walk in the door. All my teams have been built and they're fit, strong and organised. So that's what they need to understand. Yes, you want to play attacking football, you want to get in people's faces, but the foundations are fit, strong and organised. So the players, they better come in fit, and they will come in fit, and they will be fit by the end of pre-season. And that's not just physically fit, I mean mentally fit. Obviously with the strength and conditioning and all that comes with it, mentally strong and then organised. That's my job and the coaching staff, to make them organised, and then from that platform you can go and play good football, you can be aggressive in the press, you can get the ball in the box in certain areas of the pitch, but first and foremost you need to build the foundations with the team, with the club, everything. And it's happened before. We did it at Barnsley. We managed to tie a club together. It was very similar. There was a disconnect between everything. Lots of players wanted to leave and all those sorts of things, but if you can get it going with this football club, this support, the infrastructure, like I said, the owner, it's exciting times.
Duff was previously at Cheltenham. He was at Barnsley as manager. He also managed Swansea City last year, who he got sacked from. He spoke very passionately about how he thought his emotions were after that sacking, and the fact that he's taken 5 months out of the game, first time in 30 years. He was at Burnley as a player and Cheltenham as a player, but Burnley, most people will probably know from him his time at Turf Moor. And he spoke a little bit about his career so far, really, and this is what he had to say on that.
Well, I think on reflection, it was an opportunity that I thought was a good. Ultimately, it didn't work for Swansea, it didn't work for me. I don't think you have to be a rocket science to work that. It just wasn't a great fit. Yeah. Brilliant football club, lovely part of the world, supporters are really passionate about their team. But for whatever reason, and in hindsight, should he have left Barnsley? Probably not. But we're all a lot wiser with hindsight. And that's the excitement of this opportunity that, like I said, I feel refreshed. You learn more from failure. It's the first time I've had a break for 30 years. I've reflected. I made mistakes. Certain things didn't work out. But because of that experience, I think I'm a much better manager because of it. I was upset and angry when you get the sack, because it's the first time it's happened to me. But it's, as a player in the summer, you still got to keep fit, so you're still working. As a manager, you never turn off. So it was nice to be able to get up when I wanted to. Like I said, been away on holiday, been into a couple of different clubs. The frustrating part was the one time I can play golf whenever I want. It's been the wettest winter in history. And we have 3 days of sun and then Mark rings. But yeah, I just feel energised, feel just ready to go. And as much as you don't think you are, the amount of people that said to me the last 2 or 3 months, "God, you look well." You're like, "God, how bad must I have looked at the end of Swansea?" You don't realise, you can't see it because you're submerging yourself in it. So yeah, I think energised is probably the best word, and excited. I played at Burnley for a long time, and the one thing that they had there is a world-class environment. Didn't have great players, with respect, but it was a byproduct of the environment. I went to a much smaller club, and we created that same thing and started winning games. Same thing happened at Barnsley. So it's can you instill that, and can you, so it's not a flash in the pan. Like you said, you need a bit of substance behind the results. And I've said it before, and Leon, you've heard this a million times. Saturday at 3 o'clock is a window into your working week. So that's when the supporters see, well, what you're actually doing during the week. And if you're doing it properly often enough, the result looks after itself. If you're just cutting corners and you're just getting by and you've got little clicks all over the place, it gets exposed at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. So that's the bit that we need to realise. It's the day-to-day, hour-to-hour habits that all come together on Saturday. Should be the easiest day of the week.
Regarding Mark Cartwright, he spoke about, obviously, his reflections on where he thought the club had been over the last year because of relegation, where we were now and what we were wanting to do and what we are wanting to do going forward. Mark has come under certain scrutiny, even a little bit from myself, but, the wider fan base. And, I got a chance to ask him in the press conference whether he thought that criticism was slightly harsh. This is what he had to say for that.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I have probably seen more here in this last 10 months than I have in over 10 years as a sporting director. But it's all learning material. I think we had a very We did have a very in-depth conversation when Kevin flew in. We spent a lot of time with Kevin and Jake going over everything. And all, Kevin, Jake, myself, we all reflected on what could we have done better and where were things, what did we do wrong. Like Michael says, you'll always get the criticism because everybody's a pundit, everybody, sees the game through their eyes, and everybody thinks or wants to do your job. There's a lot of stuff, like I said earlier, behind the scenes that people never ever find about. They never hear about. They never hear. The big problems will make the headlines and be in the paper. But a lot of the little problems will go unnoticed, and a lot of time has been spent on a lot of little problems. It's literally you think you've put that fire out, and then another one pops up. And so I think it's reflection is it's a word that's only started probably being used a lot in the last 5 or 8 years, and when I first started doing stuff with the FA, they started talking about it and making sure people were fully aware of what it was, because a lot of people can just barrel on without even thinking about what's gone on behind. And I think we had those key meetings when Kevin came over and reflected on the whole thing and how do we move this in the right direction. Obviously Michael is one of those points, but there's a lot of other things going on that will never make the headlines, that people will never see, but they are making this club better. And I think as an owner, Kevin has a real desire to make this club better. Whether that's at the stadium, whether it's the training. He's allowing us to invest heavily into the training ground this year, on the facility. So when people come back, there's a lot of changes so that people can see progress. Again, these are the little things that people aren't seeing outside, but they're going to make a big difference to Michael and his squad because it's been freshened up probably for the first time in a long time, and we have to do these little things. So I think you learn along the way, but you also have to take that time out to sit back and go, okay, are we doing the right things here? And the beauty of it is, there's a core group of people that can just pick up the phone and instantly talk to each other, and decisions can get made very quickly, and I think that helps massively. Don't forget, I didn't actually arrive until July, so I had no influence over a lot of things that happened last summer, and it was new. So I've been learning about the club throughout the sort of last 9 or 10 months as well, figuring out who's who, what's what, and why is it under the malaise it's been under, because it's been struggling for the last 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. So you're trying to figure all these things out whilst making decisions to influence the club. I think as I sit here right now, I could quite honestly put my hand on my heart and say we're actually in a much better place than we were last year, and that sounds completely moronic considering that we've just got relegated. But in terms of the infrastructure, in terms of what Michael's going to walk into, in terms of the ability to start and create a good environment, this has come by making changes in the background that nobody's really seeing. We believe now that we have a lot of the right people in the right places, and we've put together a pre-season that is going to challenge the players, and Michael obviously is going to be the lead in that, but. We've got a lot of games in there. We've got a pre-season trip that we're spending a lot of money to make sure that everything possible for this next season is going to be in the right place for Michael. So, no, I didn't feel. I felt really upset, angry, everything that everybody else felt, but also excited because you have the opportunity to make it right. We have the opportunity to rebuild, reset, and actually get this club back into a winning culture and have this training ground as a proper high performing environment. I would say there's certain players that have naturally come to the end of the lifespan at the club contractually, and then there's another group that haven't actually sort of touched the first team this year. You don't need to be carrying too many players. I know the B team model was here that has maybe heavily over inflated the squad, so there'll be players there that just aren't going to touch the first team that we need to move on as well. And then of course you've got the players that will think that they want to go, and their agents are telling them they want to go because they need some more agents fees because everything's been slashed in half because we've been relegated. So there's going to be a natural churn. There's obviously people that we're going to want to change and move around. So it'll be. Listen, I'm not going to say we're going to do this huge overhaul. We are going to do an overhaul as much as we possibly can. Michael's been in the situation before, and up until the deadline closes, every player is going to think they're still a championship player until that closes, and we have to deal with that situation all the way through. And we will have benchmarks that says, if somebody offers me 20 million for Stephen Chicken, then we're going to accept that.
Because definitely accept that.
Yeah,
I'll definitely accept that.
So there's a lot going on behind the scenes. But what I can say is we had already spoken with Kevin and Jake, and we already had a certain amount of first team players that we wanted to bring in. So the budget was already in place for that. So that hasn't changed. So we are expecting to bring players in and at the same time trying to overhaul and move players out.
And finally, going back to what Michael Duff had to say, he just reiterated his excitement about the club, working with supporters, and there was a lot of feeling that is he going to commute from Cheltenham where he lives? Obviously his family's down there. I think if you go to the official club interview, he sort of spells it out that he might be commuting, but when he's up in Huddersfield to concentrate on the job, and he's all in. So I think that answers that fact pretty emphatically. And this is what Amori had to say on sort of looking forward to managing Huddersfield Town Football Club in the coming weeks, and hopefully years, as we've had too many short appointments recently, and let's hope this one is successful and lasts for a little bit longer.
I think physicality is a lot of it. I think there's the one thing in the Championship to League One, and there's leagues within leagues in this one. So in the Championship, other than the parachute payment teams, I don't think who's the small team in the league. Whereas in this league there are big boys, of which we're one of them, and there are smaller ones who've got completely different objectives. In the Championship, probably I would imagine there'll be 18 teams thinking they can get in the playoffs at the start of the season. It's not like that in this league, but there'll still be 10 teams thinking they can get in the top 6, and there'll always be a surprise package, because there always is. So it's making sure that the players, like I said, it's making them aware that just because you play in a big stadium and in front of a big crowd, there's no entitlement. So and they'll get told that, because I've seen it. It took Sunderland 2 or 3 years, took Derby a couple of years, took Ipswich you look at what Ipswich have just done, but they didn't get relegated and bounced straight back. They needed that reset, and it doesn't instantly mean right you're going to win the league the next year. That's what we want to do. Make no mistake, that's what we want to do. But it doesn't just happen. It's constant work and constant application and building all those little, like I said, those little incremental things to achieve the ultimate success. But talk's cheap, so we need to make sure that we're ready to implement all those things. But I think one of the most important things, I need to give the supporters a team they're proud of, and we know the ingredients that takes in terms of passion, energy, desire. Spot on the shirt is probably the best way I can describe it as. That's what they want to see. So we want to give them that and win. That's the holy grail. That all those things come together, because I think they can handle if you get beat, as long as they seem to be having a go. So the ultimate aim is if you can really pull it together, and the connection. Like I said, the Barnes is probably a good example in terms of we got clapped off the pitch having lost at Wembley, because they could see the players give it. We played 75 minutes with 10 men in the boiling heat and got beat in the last 2 seconds of the game. So that's what we want. That's what we want to create. That's what me and Mark and the recruitment team have got to make, that the players that do come in, hopefully the supporters will see the effort that the players are coming in, and the organisation. That's on me. And then you win enough games, it builds that momentum, because one thing it does, when the supporters turn up in the numbers here, I've been here before, I've been beat here before, when they're winning, it starts bouncing, and that's what we want. We want that. We want the feel-good factor back in the club. And again, I realise there've been lots of managers in the last few years, and they probably all said the same things as I have. So I'm fully aware that actions speak louder than words. But that's what we want to get to. I understand the local people. I lived in Yorkshire for 6 years of my life. I've been at a Yorkshire club. It's very similar to Burnley. So I think I know what they want. Delivering it is what I've got to do.
Just to conclude, really, my thoughts on Michael's first press conference. I thought it was a good press conference. Says what he means. I think he has the right sort of saying where he says, it's only words at the moment. Actions speak louder than words, and they certainly do. And we've had a lot of words over the last year. Now it's time for action. Let's see who the club bring in recruitment-wise. It sounds like Matt Cartwright is taking things even more seriously. If he didn't before, I'm sure he did, but it sounds like things are already starting to move, and the market's already starting to move, and we've identified a couple of targets, which hopefully, we've got the manager in now in the first couple of weeks, so I'd like to think that we could get signings in quite soonish. The more time that Michael has with the players that he wants here, the better it is. They get used to Michael's tactics, the way that he wants to play, the philosophy of football that he has, and obviously getting to know the club as a whole. So hopefully we'll see some ins very soon. The retained list will be out. It'll be interesting to see which names are on that. There's not many names, to be fair, to go on it. There's not many people out of contract. And so it's all about sort of the ins and maybe a couple of outs regarding the better players that we have, Helic, Rodoni, those players, etc. So, yeah, it was a good press conference. It was a good start. I think it's a solid appointment. I like how he talks. I like how his mannerisms. I also like, the way that he speaks. But it's further in the summer when we're going to see how much the club are going to be able to back him. And I think they should really back this man. This is the man that they want. This is the man that could take us back to the Championship. But time will only tell. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this little video regarding the press conference. And we'll see you very, very soon. We'll probably be back for a Monday show roundup, where we'll talk about a number of different topics, I'm sure, with all the lads being involved. But for now, please do follow us on social media. Go and watch the Leeds United review with Jay and Chris. Obviously, Jay's very happy that Leeds have gone up into the playoff final. We'll see who they face over the next day or so. And so, yeah, please like this video, please share the channel, and yeah, thanks very much for watching. Cheers.